Is that Meph as a lizard? That is not Meph as a lizard. No, that's
No, that's Erda as a lizard.
That's Erda. Erda as a wizard.
I think you would be a good Croxigore.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Or him?
Yeah.
Me?
You.
Meph is a Croxigore? I'm for it. It's probably my favorite, I think it's my favorite unit in theory in the army, but, depending on the models, or the love and care you put into them personally, it goes up and down. But
well, they are the construction workers of the Lizard Men.
It makes sense. Yeah, there's some synergy there between me and them. All right. Good evening, everybody. I am the magical Mr. Mephisto. I'm going to go ahead and bring you something a little bit different from what I normally do on my usual RantCast tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking 3 Spheres, Seraphon. So if you've watched RantCast for any period of time, you know that I believe that Age of Sigmar is essentially composed of 3 spheres. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think it's a nice little Venn diagram. And when they all overlap and form a circle, that's when I think you really achieve maximum passion for something in this game. Beyond that, we're gonna do Seraphon. This is pure propaganda. If you came here to not want to hear about how awesome lizards are, you are in the wrong place. Go ahead, go watch any other show.
Tiger King.
Yeah, go watch the Tiger King.
Tiger King is insane.
But I didn't even walk away from Tiger King being like, tigers are awesome. I don't know if you'd what's an army that plays with tigers right now? Is there one? Do we have a tiger army?
Amazons used to, but they don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like the thing we got is the Dracolines.
Dracolines? The Thundercats?
Yeah, they're kind of tiger-like.
Yeah, they're tigerish. They're tigerish. So I'm actually joined by a number of correspondents tonight, a couple of advocates. So advocating for the hobby aspect, our hobby advocate is going to be Anthony Polcastro. He's in the top left of my screen, should be in the top left of yours. Go ahead and say hi.
What's going on, folks?
So he's going to cover some hobby discussion. Obviously, everyone's going to talk about everything. Bringing up the competition sphere is going to be Jeremy Cooper from the Ever Chosen podcast. Go ahead and say hi, Jeremy.
What's up, gentle bros?
That is just Jeremy, if you'll recall from in the Wayback Machine, one of my earlier rantcasts. And then we've got a disembodied voice, a Starborn, if you will, from the Lustria forums. Erda Wanderer is going to be our lore correspondent.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here.
And we've also got kind of a bonus guest. We got someone repping the international scene. He is a member of Chat Gang. If you've been around, you've seen him around. Axo, you want to pronounce the full name for me, perhaps?
Good morning, folks. It's Das Axolotl.
All right. So that's everybody. But I'm just going to start with the obvious question. All 3 of you, and go ahead and I'm just going to start just kind of go clockwise. Going to start with Anthony. You answer first, and then just kind of answer it in the way or in the order I introduced you. Why Seraphon?
I picked them up at a time when no one was playing them because they were freaking cool. You had dinosaurs on top of dinosaurs with crystal lasers and more dinosaurs. What more could you want?
I don't know.
Yeah, so it was funny. They were my first Age of Sigmar army. I played fantasy back in the day, and the Carnosaur, it drew me in. I was between Zinch and Seraphon, and I had to go for that Carnosaur. Little did I know what I was getting into at the time. I bought a whole bunch to start collecting boxes. Thought I was going to be fielding a really stellar AOS 1.0 army.
Stellar. I see what you did there.
But yeah, it was the Carnosaur got me.
It was the Carnosaur. Yeah, I mean that thing's basically Godzilla. It's the Age of Sigmar Godzilla, right?
You have to have a tiny Godzilla with a giant.
That's a Dreadsaurian.
Oh, the Dreadsaurian is the bigger. All right, my bad.
Yeah.
Right, he doesn't fit on the table.
They don't even make a real base for him.
Yeah, with his 28 centimeter base.
In case anybody needs, I print bases for him. I sell them. I have bases. We're good.
There you go.
That's bigger than your
Is that bigger than your face? Could you cover your whole face?
Yeah,
I could very easily, and I'm a fat guy, so my head is quite large. In case you didn't know. For reference, here's a standard sheet of paper. I mean, that's it's.
So, like, if you could fit your battletome into that space on the table, you can fit your dread story.
I mean,
Yeah,
if
pretty
we
much.
need to
Yeah.
show that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So when you're deploying the Dread Saurian, just grab your battle tome. There's your you're getting your first advanced Seraphon strat. If you don't want to tip your hand about where you're thinking about deploying the Dread Saurian, you just like kind of grab your pretend to be consulting your battle tome and just kind of like look at it toward the table, and you'll get a good idea. Good youth perspective. All right, so Erdo man, why Seraphon?
Well, mainly due to funds, I have been a fan of the world and reading and general lore for much longer than I've been capable of playing. And what drew me to Seraphon originally was just the leaders, the casters, the Slan and Teto Echo. Just
Okay.
the ability to throw volcanoes at people, to pluck the winds of magic like instruments and just shut people down. It was a marvelous thing.
See, that's an interesting take because you're mentioning some like pretty historical stuff, and I'm sure we'll get into it maybe a little bit when we touch on lore. But on the table side, do you think that the terraforming thing? I think that's a really sweet angle. Do you think
Yep.
that kind of like harkens to that like lobbing volcanoes at people where you're like, no, this is our terrain now?
The Realm Shaper? Oh, most definitely, yes. I love the lore of the Realm Shaper. Everything about it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then Axo, why dinosaurs? Why Seraphon?
So it may sound disgusting to some of you, but 3 or 4 years ago, I was a filthy 40k player. And
What's 40K?
my brother, Mr. King Tanuki in chat, wanted to get me into Age of Sigmar, and he had this used Lizardman fantasy army, and he didn't want to restore it, so he gave it to me, and yeah, that's where I started.
So, but that's like now grown into like sort of a passion. This is your
Yeah.
army. Yeah.
I played this army for 3 years now, and just early this year I started my second army. So I'm very faithful to them.
And I'm sorry, Simmer, you cannot rant about Legions of Asgore having no battle tome. This is about Seraphon today, buddy.
I would love to have them a new battle tome.
Yeah.
We feel for you, but this is not the time.
Soren popping off with a bunch of gift subs already for checking. Thank you so much there, Soren, the mad lad. I guess I guess I'm going to start with like kind of the hard question. Do you think for it to be the army or your like favorite army, do you think you've got to love all three spheres, or can one just really tip you in favor of it? And let's go counterclockwise now. Well, actually, let's start with the competition angle.
So do you have to love? I think if you're into Seraphon before this book, you did.
Mm-hmm.
Because definitely pre-book, they were a great army. You could hang in tournaments. You could have wonderful games, but like you weren't taking Seraphon because they were like the power play of the tournament.
Well, like one thing I found about Seraphon is I actually think that something that's been diluted with this new battle tome, just even going back like just 1 year ago, they were probably the army that played the table the best.
Yes, by far.
And so like I feel like there was a real appeal to Seraphon players. I mean, maybe you weren't in it to win it all, but you wanted to play the game of Age of Sigmar, you know? Like, and I thought that was a really cool niche appeal. Do you think that survived the battle tome? Like, you play the table still, like, pretty strongly, or? I feel like it's been diluted. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up when we got to my section. I think more than maybe a lot of the other battle tomes that we've seen, their play style has changed a lot.
Yeah.
Significantly, yeah.
So I am, as much as I'm excited for everything that's to come, there is a part of me that's like mourning the loss of double teleport and like absolutely outrageous skink shenanigans. Like people call me the dirty skink around my part. They're so tired of me getting in there, sneaking out, stealing stuff from them that like I shouldn't have scored.
Yeah.
So
Well, like I remember your very importantly when you did when you were on RantCast that first time, Jeremy, you actually said, I want more teleports. You're like, get rid of my summon. I just want more teleports. That was like the one thing you wanted.
yeah.
And they actually like cut it in half and then some because kind of you lost a little bit of summoning.
A lot of
A
summoning.
little bit.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
80% of summoning. It was bad.
So you lost
quite a
summoning, and the
bit.
summoning was essentially like a pseudo teleport, you know, because you could set up to bring on models into position where they needed to be.
It's funny, like the deal with Seraphon pre-book was that like you play the board, you play the objectives, but you try not to fight. It's like, oh, if I have to make a fight, if I have to fight something here, I'm in trouble.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now it's like flipped on its head.
Mm.
You had nothing that could stay around, nothing that could kill anything. You just wanted to be places.
Yeah, melee is just another possibility for movement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like skinks have kind of like I think skinks are still. In fact, the skink keyword in specific is like it's one of those things you find yourself really looking for when you go through the battletome. But, so skinks are still very much a part of the army, but they've completely changed roles. It kind of like at first I didn't know how to feel about it, and as a total outsider, I'm like, those sneaky skink bastards are going to be sneaking. Oh, but they're going to be doing 16 mortal wounds. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, or like 6. Yeah.
Well, you shoot, buff, shoot, and actually like run in and charge afterwards after the shooting.
Yes.
You
And
about
then
16.
you get like
And you get-
12. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get a 2+ save if you really want it. So
It's just like 2+ save skinks. What is it? It feels like the world's a little bit upside down. So, so one thing that hasn't changed though, perhaps, you know, I know this is the big point of contention. I think for a lot of Seraphon players is I personally, again, no skin in the game, not even my army. I really wanted them to get the Gloom Spike Gets effect, where like they kept some of the old sculpts, you know, the dinosaurs. I think the big dinos look pretty good overall.
Yep.
Just wanted them to get like, you know, Croxagors get updated, you know, skinks to get updated. I know some people really love the skinks as is.
Salamanders.
Fine, leave the skink alone.
Salamanders, please.
Yeah.
Leave the skink alone.
Leave the skink alone. I see some people that tell me to leave.
resin.
No,
leave-
skink is
Replace
fine.
resin, replace Saurus, replace Crocs. That's all it
I don't-
takes.
I'll be honest, I don't even mind regular Saurus, but the Knights, Saurus Knights, are throw that in the bin. Croxagor, throw that in the bin. Salamanders, throw that in the bin.
Oh, salamanders are the worst.
No, I honestly, I think the Knights are the worst. Salamanders.
Yeah,
are
but at least they're plastic.
Yeah, sure,
Granted.
but they're good for melting down. They're just trash.
They're the definition of dirt. Like if you look up the word derp, it's like a guy with his tongue sticking out. And I seriously think one of the sculpts has its tongue like
Yes.
It does,
sticking out
yes.
the side of its mouth.
The rider itself is okay, but it's just the mount is so bad.
Mm.
So bad.
Especially with Drakespawn Knights being a thing.
Yeah, like they're both on cold ones. How did our cold ones 2 extra chromosomes and theirs are good.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Their scalp is probably older than me.
Oh man, that's
It
brutal.
still is crying.
But so okay, no new sculpts, but it is the first thing you see in an army. You know, it really is. I think if any advice I'd ever give to somebody who wants to get into Age of Sigmar, it really is just go to a store, watch people play. That first thing that like makes you fall in love with Age of Sigmar is the models essentially. Like you see a model, you go, it's surface level. It's still got that it factor, doesn't it, Anthony?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Slan, even though they're resident are a cool model, Skinks again I think are a really cool model. Your Stegodons, your Bastillodon, your Carnosaur, all really cool big models. If you happen to find someone that's bought a Dreadsaurian to never put on the table like I did, I mean it's an amazing model.
It's just so cool.
Yeah. Well, they upped it to what, 30 wounds? 30 wounds now?
35.
36.
35.
Oh man, that's so it's fun, but I know that like my brain is wired wrong because the first thing like people were like flipping out about it on the internet. They're like, "Oh, this is awesome! Look at all the wounds," and I just went, "Its attack profile sucks." And it's just like my brain just like.
Here's what you got to think about. Like I looked at it and I went, "Great! I don't need."
Yeah.
I just teleport this across, give it 3d6 charge, and lock half of my opponent's army in place because in case you missed it before, Its base size is half the board. Okay, you can't move away from it. Good luck chewing through 35 wounds.
I mean, you saw the list on Twitter with two
Yeah.
Dreadsaurians in it.
Yeah, the person who was living their best life .list. Yeah, I saw that. That's
So me and
We
Dan
actually
Watson
have
were
three.
talking.
yeah.
Did a list with 3 Dreadsaurians. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep,
because-
there's like 4 people trying to make that work.
I mean, you're never gonna win a game, but it's gonna be fun as hell. I mean, why not?
So the models you mentioned you mentioned a list of models that still just hold up for you. How like I guess how does that all come together? As you know, you got a new tome, you're still in love with the Seraphon. Where's your hobby kind of taking you with this army?
Oh, so I went and bought the new Start Collecting that they because I only had 3 Pterodon riders, and Pterodons got a big boost. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna build 9 more of them. Maybe another Bastillodon just for fun. Like even when I wasn't playing them in this past season, just to play something different for a little while, I still have been buying and building their models because their models are cool and I enjoy it. I mean, I have 90 skinks painted, and I've got another 30 over here to paint. I have 60 Saurus Warriors, and I probably won't paint another one of those. But Bastillodons and Stegodons, like they're still viable and cool and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Pterodons, like, and another Carnosaur maybe for some conversion. So like,
They're
there's
such fun models to paint.
Yeah, and just having some different options, some different things to try out. Because I still don't think. I mean, obviously, no one's played a damn game with them because we're all under house arrest. So
Right.
I still don't think the full what is really good and is known yet. Because there's always people on both sides of this book. Because this book is so divided in half on how you're going to play it and build it.
Well, yeah, they did this. I actually really like the Starburn versus Kolesk thing. I talked about that a little bit with the re-rolling ones guys. I think it's a really cool direction, really cool design space. It's kind of like having 2 different armies, almost.
True, but the divide isn't there. It's between whether you want to run Saurus or Skinks, because
Yeah.
both work in either.
Well, don't Starborn get the summoning? Starborn specifically?
Yes.
Yes, but you don't
the
care
summoning
because summoning's
is
bad.
not existing. Yeah.
I wouldn't say bad. It's just, to me, the summoning is like the Bad Moon forgets. Like, I'm not playing because I think I can, plan with it, but it's an added bonus that I can use at different times.
Yeah, but you don't have to give up something if your Gloomspite gets to get the effect of the Bad Moon. While in Seraphon, you can use your Lord Croak to blast your opponent with long-range mortal wound spells instead of having the chance of summoning 2 units of Skinks the whole game.
But he only gives up. He only has to give up 1 spell for that, and yeah, I
One
think he
spell
can give
every
up.
turn.
Yeah, 1 spell every turn. He doesn't have to give every turn, right? If I don't need those points, like my thing is, you can get into like, just to bring in like a unit of 3 Pterodons that have a 16-inch move late game, and go out and get an objective because at turn 4 and then turn 5 they can move 16 inches or run and all this other stuff. You can really do something.
Or even the threat of it. Even the threat of it of it, like it's something like Scorched Earth, where your opponent's like, oh, if I move this, he can just summon stuff on. If I move my keep back unit off, he's just gonna move something on and burn it right away. Like there's that like mental game. I think the summoning is still very
That's
much
what
viable.
Local Space and Time is.
Yeah. Oh, well, teleport too. Yeah. Right.
Yep.
So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you're playing Croak 2, you're probably going to play with a Balewind, so you've got 5. If you give up 1, it's not the end of the world, then you don't have to give up 1 every turn.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like I said, it's not something I'm like...
Your summon rolls early turns, so you have a few extra.
Right. I mean, I used to build a list, like, predominantly for summoning. Like, I'm going to summon the next time, and it's good luck to you, son.
You
But
had to.
now I'm like, I'm going to bring on 10 Skinks and maybe 3 Pterodons at some point, and other than that, I don't give a crap.
Well, what's interesting here, and this is on I think the modeling side, the hobby side of it is by nerfing summoning, the gameplay aspect, you don't have to carry as much crap to a tournament. You're not
Oh,
bringing
yes.
3 or 4 totes filled of just skinks, like literally skinks. Although you might still bring about 60 to 90 skinks anyway. But
60s are lowballing numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
rookie numbers, I gotta
plan
pump
is
them.
about 90 to 100 at least.
All right.
I own 200 of the buggers.
So, I have a question for all of you. Then, are you still buying skinks? Like, do you just like?
Yes.
Yes, but for different reasons.
I see Jeremy Cooper. He just held up a finger 1 minute. Oh, here's a box. Still in the plastic. See, I love Seraphon players. I used to have like a cliche. I talked about like orc players are orc players. You know, they're ride or die for their army. And then I met Seraphon players, and they're like orc players squared, man. Like Illustria Online was like this lifeline, this beating heart of an army that was kind of neglected for a long time in Age of Sigmar. You know, you got the
that's
first.
why we were so passionate. The only people who were passionate were the ones who stayed around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you have Jeremy Cooper getting ready to bring his dragon list to Adepticon. He's like last minute. No, Seraphon.
Right before the flight, man. Had to switch. The heart wants what the heart wants.
So that passion for the models is still there for this army, obviously. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
Can I say one thing about hobby really quick?
Yeah.
Because like I'm not like a proficient hobbyist. Like y'all never be up there getting paint awards, but like they're super fun to paint and like they're not hard. They don't have to be. Like they're one of those great models that like one of my best friends here in town. He also plays Seraphon and he's a great painter and they look incredible. Right? You can go like to the highest echelon of painting with them, but you can also like hit them with some dry brushing and they look great. Like you can have them tabletop ready like in a pinch. So
They're very
beginner
beginner
cool.
friendly.
Contrast paint was like designed for Seraphon because it works perfectly with scales and their texture, slight dry brush, some contrast, and these things look really good.
right, man.
Yeah,
see,
one of the most colorful armies as well, I think.
Yeah.
Except maybe Idonet Deep can have some excuses to be the full rainbow palette of colors, except for Seraphon.
Yeah, I mean, you can do wild colors and it still looks totally within in the realm of things because you just go, look, here's a reference photo of a lizard. Look at the colors on this thing. Look at a poison dart toad, and it's like, you see this thing? Like, I mean, you can do a lot.
Yeah, I'd say that's true. It's one of the only armies where you can have like each unit be a distinct color too. Like, you know, you can have your skinks be blue and your Riverdactyls be orange, and like, normally you need to be in a really tight color scheme.
Yeah.
And we have desert-themed Seraphon armies. We have island-themed Seraphon armies. We have mountain ones. It's just everything.
Oh yeah.
All right, and with the lore aspect of it, like these coalesced are the ones who have like already been there and like chilling out, like naturally they've settled a plethora of biomes, you know, to facilitate that.
And we absorb the terrain around us. We become more like the place we live.
Yeah. Which missed opportunity number one.
Well, what's that?
Not having us ally with Cities of Sigmar.
We're the only ones.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You can't ally with them at all. And in the cities book, it talks about Seraphon living in some of the city.
Well, small groups of them, yes.
And that's fine. Why? But I think if you have this Realm Shaper engine that come down and you've been there for a long, long time and you're near these cities, I think it would have been a good little tie-in to be able to ally in a cities army. Not that I care. Like, I don't want any of their crap in my army. But...
Yeah. on the other hand, you don't want City of Sigmar to have access to Lord Croak's CP spamming.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, I do. Because my
Hammerhall would be nasty.
Well, Croak specifically has breathed some new life into like Stormcast lists. Like,
they needed that.
I know a lot of Stormcast players are like, everyone was like, oh, Croak. That's a lot of their theory craft is around Croak right now, and I think, hey, man, like, cool. Do you think?
Amazing.
Go on.
No, he's amazing, and he's an amazing ally. Just I just want him, a Star Drake, and then the Celestin Prime, and you just dropping comments all over the place. Just literal comments all over the place.
Well,
Death from the skies.
It's funny because this is now twice that like one of the best things you can do with Stormcast is play with Seraphon stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they were allying in skinks before, and now they're taking actually Croak and probably
Yeah.
still skinks.
Yes.
Oh man. So
It plays very close to the fact that they're our only ally. For so long.
No, we have.
Well, yes, now, but
Oh
for
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
longest
yeah.
time we could only ally with Stormcast, and the fact that they always wanted to was always really good for the story behind it.
well, I mean, with Dracothian, I feel like there's I don't now this is maybe where my lore experts here can help me out, but Dracothian is kind of implied to perhaps be an old one, right? Or linked to the Seraphon in some way, yeah?
He's very much linked to the Seraphon. He recharged us when we were dying after 10,000 years drifting amongst the stars. But no, he is not an old one.
Okay, so he's not an old one, but it's okay.
No,
He
the
also-
realm gates were made by the old ones, though.
Yeah, he ascended from being a normal dragon from the old world, I think.
Oh, is that what it is for Dracothian?
It's unknown. We don't know his origin.
But he also breathed life into Sigmar when Sigmar was
Yeah, he's-
dying, wasn't it? So
Yeah, and
You're
then
The
welcome.
respirator of the Mortal Realms.
Yeah, he's closer to the Necron Catan than anything else.
I'm sorry.
Necron are just 40k Seraphon.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What's that? Was that? Was
Oh,
that?
no.
In 40 millennia, lizards become metal robots.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. That makes sense,
Just throwing that out there.
dude. And the Realm Shaper pyramid actually looks like their necropolises or whatever.
It does.
Their
Yeah.
pyramids. Oh, why you do this? Okay,
And the skull-shaped faces of the Necrons could lead to some love affair story thing between Bone Reapers and Seraphons in the future.
that's what it is. I'm gonna write some romance fanfic where a mommy lizard falls in love with a daddy bone
You mean
bone
the
reaper.
genderless lizard?
Bone
Bone
reapers are pretty well genderless too. I mean,
Yeah.
they are legion. Like they're probably like they don't have a sex. They have 12 souls in any given body. Their bodies are made for war. Like they're genderless too. So these two genderless species find a way to mate, and that is how Necron were born. I'm already writing the headcanon. You can't stop
Fair
me.
There you go. Boom, get on it.
I'll just call it boning or something like that.
In the jungle. Boning in the jungle.
Boning in the jungle. There we go.
There's a rumble in the jungle. It's all right.
So anything to really like finish off the hobby portion of our discussion here? Anything you want to? I'm sure we might end up talking some more stuff as we continue, but just really like the elevator pitch. You know, what about these models just keep you engaged? Because we've established that you're still engaged. What is it that you just keep coming back to them?
I mean, they do. They have some cool sculpts. Yes, albeit a couple it should be in the bin, but they do have a wide variety of really cool sculpts, and they have a wide variety of sculpts. They're not like a Fire Slayers where everybody looks the same. You have 8 to 10 different distinct units at least. The painting, again, they're relatively easy to paint. Even their larger models aren't that daunting because they lend well to newer style painting techniques with like contrast and dry brush and stuff like that. You can go wild on colors. You can do mild conversions that look kind of cool, and you can do some wild that look really cool. There was that guy who took a Slan and put him on a Necron thing, and it looked like his Palanquin. It was amazing. So, I mean, there's a lot you can do with them, and in the end, you have dinosaurs and lizards, and that's baller. I don't know what else you could want.
Right on. Anyone else? Jeremy, Axo, Erda, anything to add on models?
Yeah, they have a very low skill floor and a very high skill ceiling as far as hobby goes.
Mhm.
And let's be honest, we all just never grew up. We still love dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I actually love the flyers, the Ripperdactyl riders as well as the pterodons.
Yes.
I find it kind of awkward that now with the introduction of the chiefs, there is some kind of odd number required because they sell in packs of 3 And now you have to either use 3 chiefs, which I don't think is very viable in any list, or you just have 2 more than you need in every case, because you can't set up a unit of 2 of them.
Yep. Oh, also, our boxes still are very cheap model-wise. You get 20 skinks to a box, so...
Yeah, but you need, like, 9 boxes. So...
Yeah, they kind of even out. We're not as expensive as we could be.
No.
You kind of touched on it a little bit. Jeremy, I think especially, even though you're running like quote unquote 100 skinks, it still ends up being like a pretty easy army to kind of get finished because of that approachability, that low skill floor but high skill ceiling.
Hobby wise, right? When you look at 90 to 100 models that you have to paint, that's when the like soul crushing starts. You just go, I don't want to paint this shit. No, I don't want to do it. But the fact that if you don't want to go to like the crazy standards, you can knock out 20 of these guys in probably 2 hours with some contrast and dry brush fairly quickly. I mean, they just really do lend themselves to that very nicely, and you can get a good looking.
Right on. And
so it does matter that.
I've seen a lot of people, and this is, I mean, you're all established sort of veterans of Seraphon. I've actually seen a lot of new interest in Seraphon too because of the battletome, and I'm seeing people excited about the models, even though there are some older models. I know Ian on Just Play has been, Vince Venturella on Warhammer Weekly. He's been doing some Seraphon. He just mentioned picking up some stuff, and I guess everyone now has to just buy Pterodons. So like every Seraphon player who only had like 3 before has to buy like 9 more of them.
Well, we've always been a very popular faction. The only thing keeping us from being played at all was that we were neglected for 5 years.
Yeah, a lot of people in my area do have some Seraphon armies in their backend, and they are going to get it out now that they have decent rules.
Some people kind of keeping it on the shelf, getting ready to like bring it out when it was time. So there's a lot of people.
A lot of people.
A lot of old fans coming back.
A little bit of the
or
Cities of
even
Sigmar.
new. Yeah, I mean it's exactly what you said before. Never. So there's been plenty of people that have had dinosaurs around, and now they're like, "Hey, these are playable. I definitely want to get back into this."
Yeah. Our last club night before everything got shut down, there was like 4 Seraphon players rocking and rolling, and it was like the day after, or the day of the book. It was really close to the book coming out, or maybe it wasn't even out yet. And people were just like, I can't wait, and they brought their armies out for the club night.
Yeah, and fully painted armies. They just already had them. That's cool. So onto the lore aspect. So the lore has always for Seraphon has. I know the old world lore is like pretty metal as hell, but coming into the new world, they had a really. They kind of had this period where I feel like they didn't know what they were going to do with the lore. We got a couple stories in like Malign Portents, I think, and then we didn't really.
We got one, yes.
Yeah, so we got like a story in Malign Portents. What was that?
That was an amazing story, though. Like I still want to build that.
Yep,
it's got to be huge.
You still want to build the what? I'm sorry.
Their starship, how they talked about like it's way actual jungle inside of it with spawning different rooms. Like I want to build that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. I was actually hoping their terrain piece would be a crashed spaceship. I thought that'd be pretty metal, but
that'd be way too big. The realm shape is just a tiny part of them, and it's already huge.
I was hoping it would be something that moved around. Like I thought that would be a cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some sort of like modular, like a way pod type thing. That's like, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah. The big problem with Seraphon lore was that almost all of our old lore was tied to our heroes. We didn't have a lot of just general stories. It was all, this is Chekax. He can stop time and defeats demon lords that harm his slan. This is Mazdamundi. He throws volcanoes at people and stopped the bloody moon from hitting the planet. And they're all gone.
Yeah.
So with all of our heart lore gone, we had nothing to work from, and they didn't give us any.
So how do you think they reconciled that in Age of Sigmar, or have they reconciled that in Age of Sigmar?
They've started. The best they've done so far is they've shown how we interact with the other factions. We keep showing up in other people's books as being this enigma that people hate to deal with because the Bone Shapers can't eat our souls because we didn't have any at the time. Ogres don't like fighting us because they can't eat us afterwards. Yeah, we have to look for bits and scraps until the newest book, and yeah, I love how orcs build chaos shrines justified us.
That's funny. So what are some have you spent any have any of you gotten some time to spend with the book besides the War Scrolls? Like, have you actually read the propaganda at the beginning?
Yes, I have multiple times.
Any standout moments in there when you're reading it? Like, I know you can't go with we can't go any of my podcasts without me talking about Ossiarch Bone Reapers, but I know there was this moment where I was reading my tome and I was just like, yes, like this is the coolest thing ever. In particular, when it was talking about how Nagash hates free will, but he gave like a small amount to Bone Reapers because he knows they need it. Like, I was just like, that's so evil. It's great. Was there any moment like that for you with your book? Slaves to Darkness. Well, you think Slaves to Darkness has the single best moment so far, which is Sigmar is a false god. The first sentence in the whole battletome. It's just like, I know exactly what this book is about.
Well, not a single defining moments. Just key notes that come together to make a whole. Like the fact that we bind Realmstone into the bones of our dinosaurs is really awesome. The fact that we see what happens to Saurus when their Slans goes out of commission and how they go into this primordial kill everything mode. There's a lot of smaller things that build up to make a bigger whole. It's the groundwork that they can build from.
Okay. Would you say this is an army that's really good if you want to put your own spin on it? You know, like some armies feel like... Okay, yeah.
Absolutely and utterly. The fact that we change based on the realm where we have taken a part of means that you can make a specialized force that is the background entirely unique to you.
So it's very much that like feel no shame to be a snowflake here. They give you full agency to do that.
Right. In fact, they encourage it.
I think that's one of those like great moments for again, a veteran player and new player alike. You know, when you don't know the whole world and you're slowly learning it, trying to figure out if you want to write your own narrative for your army without stepping on the toes of other narrative stuff, yada yada yada. That can be, you know, I struggle with like Legions of Nagash. I'm like, oh, it's Nagash. Like I can't write a story about Nagash. He's the supreme lord of the undead. He fucking knows who he is. But with Seraphon, you have this ability to really like be modular and make your own sort of destiny. What have the rest of you found with like the lore? Is there any is there a lore element to it that like kind of keeps you invested in the army as well? I mean, obviously it's dinosaurs on dinosaurs. That's pretty metal.
Yeah, I mean, I like seeing how they keep changing the lore, but I wish that we'd featured more heavily in the main stories of the lore instead of being just a little side note. Mm-hmm. Like, yes. I mean, Croak is this like ever-present being that's been here for no one knows how long.
He is currently 48 million years old.
Yeah, and what's he doing? Beating off in the corner. I mean, like, do something, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's
sitting around throwing comets.
The extent of our interaction in the main story is essentially there was a big battle and Seraphon showed up.
Yeah. I mean,
we have a single book about us, and that's way at the beginning of, I believe, 6th edition. And a short story in which as cool as the world ship is, all that happens in it is a skink sees something worrying and hits a button.
Yeah, that malign important story.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. He's like, oh, wake up. We're going to launch and then that was it. No, nothing ever happened from there. Like, you just, I wish we were featured more in it. I mean, you had one of our characters used to go around slaughtering rats left and right.
Tehawan?
Yeah.
Which one? That describes all of them.
Well, yeah, no. I can't pronounce his name, but the red skink. right? The prophet.
Temple.
I mean, so this dude goes around slaughtering rats because he can read the future in their entrails, and he wants to spill all their blood to the great serpent god Sotek. And my man's gone. There's nothing.
That's how metal Seraphon are. We created our own god.
Yeah. My man is like, I'm immune to disease rats because I killed them all, bitches. Nah, you're gone. Peace out, bro.
So, as someone who didn't really play them or know them in the old world, I love the simple like space. Like, yeah, they survived. They're like the sole survivors of this long forgotten world, which for me was long forgotten because I had played it like 10 years ago and just had like reminiscings of what had happened there. And so I really did latch on to the early, just like, yeah, they don't know what's going on with these guys. They're mysterious. They teleport in, kick some ass, and get out. Like, it appealed, like, to me, it fit my understanding of the mortal realms and like what these like lizards who, because I didn't, because it's interesting that you guys talk so much about like, it was the characters. Well, since I didn't know the characters, the story fit like what I would assume cold-blooded dinosaurs are doing. Like, they're not talking. They're not sitting around chiefing. They're coming in, ripping face, and getting out.
Well, yeah, the thing is they do that.
Yeah,
The temple cities were built by someone, and the skink priests and starseers, as both administrators, leaders, diviners, and just general magic badassery, is a big part of them. And I think people missed that a lot.
I think that, like, I mean, I've only scanned the book so far. I just recently got mine because I got paid yesterday. It's like I felt like they were actually kind of making them seem a lot more badass again. Like they actually like if Seraphon show up, shit's going down. Like I did feel like they kind of like preserved that somewhat. Like in a way where like it's weird because like Stormcast kind of have that identity, but Stormcast have begun to feel like a little bit like jobbers. Like they're supposed to die when they show up, whereas like Seraphon show up and just like desolated area and then like build a freaking pyramid and they're like, all right, this land this is ours now. Like they put the flag down, it's mine now.
I think for me personally, it's always nice to see when an army's playstyle or rules reflect the lore behind them very well.
100%.
And I think one side of the Seraphon was that was already the case with the old lore, but the Saurus side,
the
with
rip and tear side,
the rip and tear side, with all the ferocious battling malice and stuff, was seriously neglected before the new book, and the community was craving for some more primal, more real Saurus lore.
See, and one of the problems I had with the old, they were all just imagined, and I'm sorry if I'm listening or on the call, but it just gave everybody an excuse to paint their Seraphon like Nighthaunt, where they just like, they're like, no. This army can be so colorful. You did the least of the least of the least.
There are no ghosts.
You're pissing me off. Like,
the 60 Grimghast Reapers just done.
No, you need to put color on them. It's not cool.
Yeah.
Don't like
how they rectified the fact that we're not ghosts anymore was the dumbest thing ever.
What's that?
Oh, they were always in the book. It's essentially, they were never ghosts. You just don't know how star magic works, you stupid idiot.
It's too cool for you to understand, bro.
Yeah. Oh man. So like the like super grognard explanation.
Yeah.
So, I like the I do like, and what we're kind of like dancing around here is this notion of like the Starborn versus the Coalesced, right? And the Coalesced are I think bringing out that more the Saurus rip and tear. What they get bonus attacks on their big dinos and stuff like that. So they're it's we'll talk about it. I think we're about to like get onto the competitive aspect or the competitive sphere of this, but like it's a little bit of a Timmy army. if you're familiar with the psychographic profiles of a Magic player that we've started to kind of port over here because of Vince Venturella and Haywo, it's a little bit of a Timmy. It goes, big dinosaurs attack more. But like I was looking through it, and I'm like, big dinosaurs attack good. You know, like if you put the you put the right buffs on it, you can have like a really pretty solid like smash face list. I'm like, I mean, this competes with other melee. So I thought that was like actually pretty cool, and you've got some support pieces and some tricks. I'm like, you play like a full real army if you play Saurus. Like you're just like you're just a classic push stuff up. You've got some shooting support that you can still work in and have some fun. So I thought that was really cool. And in the lore, like I get that it feels a little bit like a retcon to be like, oh no, there were always real ones there too. You just don't understand it, idiot. Like those pyramids that you didn't notice because we haven't been writing stories about them have been there for thousands of years.
Yeah.
It's magic, bro. It's magic.
You just didn't look close enough.
Yeah. Well, like OCR Bone Reapers have a little bit of that going on. Like Nagash built them forever ago. Apparently, he was just waiting to use them until.
Right, but weren't they locked up?
Yeah, he had them locked up underneath all the cities. All of the because skeletons. So this is canon. Like skeletons and dwarves basically built the mortal realms when all the gods were still bros. When they all when they're all friendos. It's just Dwarden and skeletons building everything because Nagash has a bunch of mindless free labor. So like they built everything, and I guess while Nagash was building everything with his skeletons, he was like building in secret passages and crap.
He was just using the passages that the Skaven burrowed into his crap.
No. Those are secret. Those are double secret passages that that he doesn't know about. That's why he always lose. I'm sorry, was that Jeremy?
I said Nagash has this awkwardly large blind spot for Skaven.
He just does.
It's just mile wide.
Yeah, it's like the ex-girlfriend from high school. Like he just can't. He's just always a weakness. Always screws him up every time.
Don't worry, I can get skeletons to carry sand 1 grain at a time to build these giant pyramids for thousands of years. But gosh darn Eshin.
But no, like, they do that a little bit. But like I think that they've done that with the mortal realms rather intentionally. Like the canvas is very blank and very wide, and very little by little they're painting in a little bit more. So like the Ossian Empire, they're like, actually the Ossian Empire is right here, right next to Nagash Azar. Like you didn't see it before, and they did that with Seraphon like times 1,000 because they really didn't have. They didn't really have like kind of anything like substantive.
No.
And now they do, and I think that that's just a net positive. It's just a good thing. Like I'm not gonna.
Right.
It's a little.
We don't blame them for giving us more. It just is a bit silly how they did it.
Fair enough. Anything else to add about the lore? I really like the lore discussion. Axel, you've been quiet for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not too deep into the lore, especially because I didn't play in Warhammer Fantasy times, so I don't have this old world where this new world lore battle going on inside me. I was okay with the lore before because it suited my playstyle as well with the teleporting and summoning stuff, and I'm okay with it now. And I don't think there are many possibilities to get from the lore we had before to the lore we have now without being without being building something dumb in it because we weren't there and now we are there. So
yeah. Fair enough. No, and that's another side of it too. Is like when you do have the new AOS player, because five years of AOS, right? Like there's people who jumped on day 0 with Seraphon, going forward, and they maybe didn't have, like you said, Jeremy, you didn't really like know about them from the fantasy battle, and you had this big period break. Like the players that just kind of were Age of Sigmar Seraphon players, I'm curious. We kind of have a 50-50 split here. I'm curious to know, like, as a community wide, if they feel appeased that they still have enough, like, adequate vague star lore going on, And I think they do, because the Starborn still have that, like, they're floating in spaceships out there, remembering crap, and it's awesome.
Well,
yeah,
our
they didn't
AOS
took away from us, so they didn't took away from us. They just gave more options.
Cool.
Right. The AOS lore hasn't changed at all. The Starborn are still the esoteric star beings they always were. We still explode when you kill us. So, sorry, Meph, we still don't have bones.
No. The
But-
Coalesced have bones. That just means I have to tax them twice as much because half your race is ducking taxes now. Like, and by the way, I play Petrifex Elite because I'm a monster, and they're made out of dinosaur bones. Where do you think those dinosaur bones are coming from, man? Nagash is known. He's known. Yeah, he's known about the bones for a long time. Like Nagash. He's known about your goofy scar magic. He knows. He has it figured out. No. Like it's so you still explode. I think you have some rules that suggest as much too when you're Starborn.
No, it's just lore at the moment.
Just the lore at the moment. That's a missed opportunity. I think.
Yep.
I think that's just a missed opportunity. Show me it on the rules if you do the thing, right? Like it's pretty straightforward. All right. So I feel like I talked over somebody in there though. No, we're good. Cool. All right, so now we're on to like, I think we're on to like the sort of competitive aspect. I've got my read, but I'd like to hear what my advocate for competitive has to say about them.
Sure. Yeah. So just real quick, there's two main ways to play, and the book really drives you in one or the other. There's no middle ground. You're either going Starborn, which is what we've kind of been talking about. It's more similar to the old play style, but toned down some, or you're going Coalesced, which is more based on real beings and their savagery, and so there are some rules that play into that. I would say like the overarching theme of Seraphon, whether you're going Starborn or Coalesced, is going to be buffs. Like these guys are like every one of your characters has like at least 2 buffs that it wants to put out, whether that's a spell and a command ability, whether it's just an ability and a command ability. Like these guys are buff crazy, and so like the kill the characters like meme has never been more real than it will be fighting. But it's like when you can, so the Stegodon Chief can absorb more buffs than I think any other model in the game right now. You can hit him with like 4 or 5 different buffs, and this guy's on like a 1-up save with multiple extra attacks, doing extra damage on the charge, going 3, like, and not that you would ever maybe do it, but just the fact that you can.
That's right.
So,
He ties out with Carnosaurs. They both have the same potential for buffs.
Yeah, that's true. So I would say like that's my overall.
The Carnosaur can't get as good a save though. He's not as resilient.
Yeah, let me clarify. The 1-up save for the Stegodon is not the same as the Bastiladon's silly.
Would you please elaborate how this one works?
While we're on it, real quick, because it's the elephant in the room. Real quick, we've got some great minds here. The FAQ came out very recently, and then this Stegodon rule or whatever. Sorry.
The Bastiladon.
Bastiladon rule. You want to take us through that real quick? So it's the 1-up. It's not a ethereal save. It says it's worded differently. Go on.
I would say the easiest way to explain it, and there's not an easy way, go on Twitter and find the picture. But what's happening is that when Rend affects a save, it's not affecting the save. It's affecting the dice roll that you make for the save.
This has always been the case.
It has never mattered before because there was nothing with a natural 1-up save, and so you were always modifying a dice down, and it had the same effect as if you were increasing a model's save characteristic. Like there was no real difference there, which is why it hasn't come up and it hasn't been a big deal.
Yeah, we had the Ren gap was the closest point of contention before, where like you had to, so there was a Ren gap. They cleaned most of that up with, instead of saying reroll fails, it just says reroll.
Right.
So they cleaned that up real quick. Most people maybe don't even remember the Ren gap. So
an unmodified 1 will always fail. But then what happens is, so let's say you roll a 2 and it's against Ren 1. It's going to take that dice down. So again, it's not like you're increasing your 1-up save to a 2-up save with Ren 1. You're taking your dice that's rolled a 2 and you're taking it down to a 1. But a 1 passes the save because it's got a natural save of
Yeah, and it's a modified one at that point, not a natural one.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And so
So
you.
even
Natural ones
When you
get
can-
taken out of the pot before modifiers are applied.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So you hit this guy with negative 1,000,000 rend. Does not matter. If he rolls a 2-up, he passes while he's at full health.
Yep.
Done.
Okay.
Because the base rules say you can't modify a dice roll below. They
So-
don't go into negative.
Now, if I may, everyone's new favorite meme. It's fine, by the way. I don't think this is game breaking.
It is not.
It's a congested, weird. The language itself and the rule itself is what I think is more off-putting. The fact that this thing has like a pretty much can't fail a save if you give it a reroll 1 with the generic command ability, or right, basically can't fail. It takes something like 103 wounds to get 1 wound.
108.
108. 108, statistically speaking.
If there's not an Astrolith Bearer with his 6+ after save next to it.
Also true.
Right.
But, I mean,
What again?
army doesn't crank out 3 mortal wounds a turn?
And that's
Right.
and that's the thing is mortal wounds
Yeah.
are going to start chunking this thing down.
Yeah.
It's just saying how do you deal with this thing? This is the thing that needs your mortal wounds on it.
Right.
Realm
Yeah.
spells are in play. Every realm's got a D3 mortal wound spell. One thing I see in a lot of these arguments is like people arguing like it's chess. Well, my knight would take your pawn, and this game is played out over several turns with your entire army. You know, like you don't need to look in your book for the one thing that deals with it in one turn, guys. Come on, like it's just a single model. It's probably got chaff because you're a good player. You're going to screen it and stuff like that. So you're going to play a game of Age of Sigmar. In other words, is what I'm saying.
You don't
I
have to
think-
screen it. It moves 5 inches and has
and doesn't
next
do
to no
damage.
damage output. I don't give a crap about this thing.
You can ignore the
ignoring
entire
it is
game.
the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you won't get it down with mortal wounds from magic as easy, because you have an global
slan.
banning slan with +2 +3 to deny. That's some different task as well.
Nagash has a chain gun of arcane bolts that disagrees.
Well, that's. But I mean, you've got some magic that might get it, but even if without magic, you've got plenty of shooting that automatically trigger mortal wounds. You have other just basic attacks. That
Fire
trigger mortal
Slayer's
wounds.
pikes.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that trigger mortal wounds.
Various
That
executioner effects, I mean, I think if this thing if a Bastiladon fights a Terrorgeist, the Terrorgeist still wins, guys. Like,
because of its mortal wounds.
Yeah, I mean charging Gorgruntas, Stonehorns off the charge, like any of the big badass monsters are still gonna chunk this thing. Like,
You just don't want to be Chaos Demons when you're facing Bastiladons, because flat 3 damage is nasty.
so I mean,
But your attack profile goes down, and you get less than the attack. I mean, it's he's not that impressive. Sorry.
I think it's fine. Like the wording and the thing, I think it just shows, it highlights a problem with how we deal with penalties with modifiers and unmodified. We keep having these problems with our rules, and I think that's really the takeaway point. Don't be mad at Bastiladon. Like Bastiladon did nothing wrong.
The 1+ save may be flashy, but it's not the thing that makes our battletome super strong, and I think it is super strong right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's always been the base interaction of forget on how modifiers actually apply. You can and can't read, because what's an actual pass and what's a fail when you go to reroll things, because everybody wants to modify a characteristic because it's easier to do it in your head quick at the table versus what actually gets modified to roll and compare to this and that. But this is the only thing that screwed everybody up.
This isn't a full RantCast here, but this really reminds me of one of the Mark Rosewater things that if they had people like consistently playing a rule the wrong way across the entire game, they change the entire rule, because they're like, if your players want to play the rule a certain way, then you should probably consider changing it. I don't see it changing in the near future, but if there's an Age of Sigmar 3.0, I think this is something that might be on the table. We saw this same iteration of this same argument with Change Host. I'm sorry, Siege, right? With the bravery thing. Characteristic versus, or modified roll versus unmodified roll, replacing the dice. It's that same problem, the modified versus unmodified, especially when you add in bonuses and penalties. It keeps happening. So
I think it gets funny if you consider that you can go above a 6 with modifiers, but not below a 1.
Yeah.
I think Vince has probably already solved it for everybody. Go watch Vince. We're not here to solve this. Oh, go ahead, Jeremy.
I still prefer, I think, on things that have characteristics for it just to affect the characteristic. I mean, it's what we're all doing anyway in our minds. Like having it affect the roll.
I guess like the base rules to where it affects that.
I think there's one of two ways. I mean, have it affect the characteristic, or have it go negative, or have negatives matter, right? Like beyond 1. I mean, those are the two things you can do. Like, I think we're all okay adding math negatively. The game says it's for 12 up. I think most of us learned how to do negative math by that point. So, like, again, but this is a this thing. So I had to actually, as a total outsider, I had to champion the Bastiladon. Quit beating up on Bastiladon. Bastiladon did nothing wrong to you guys. Like, Bastiladon is cool.
Well, it's always
It
been a
never
thing
did.
that everyone calls broken, even though he's not.
Yeah.
I think it's okay because they don't look at our really broken things if they're distracted by our
There you
1+
go.
save Bastiladon.
Granted.
So speaking of really broken things in the competitive scene here with this army, Jeremy Cooper, would you like to pick back up the conversation?
Sure. Look, if we're talking about buffs, there's going to be one buff that is going to reign probably supreme in the land of the Seraphon, and it's the Starseer's 6s do mortal wounds buff. This thing can go...
Star Priest.
Star Priest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Priest, yes.
Star Priest.
Serpent staff.
Yeah, and it's he doesn't have to do anything, which is like the greatest part of it. It's a point and click, which is always the best types of buffs.
Uninteractive.
Yeah.
Hey, you call it uninteractive, I call it the best kind.
No. I don't mind. No, I'm having flashbacks to an argument I had with somebody like about RDP, and I'm like, every buff in my book except for 2 comes off of my resource. There are armies that just get buffs without a resource. I'm like,
Hello,
several
Iron
armies. Like
If daughters can have it, why don't we?
like Sippy Cup, like there's tons of armies that just have a buff. So like maybe cool it on making fun of my bone daddy. So speaking of having an OP buff for free, Seraphon.
I didn't call it OP.
I'm a guy that's got 5 and a 6-up save.
I think it's great. I think it's good. Again, stuff is allowed to be great. This is great.
And so just from like a competitive skew really quick, like normally something procking on a 6 to wound, I wouldn't care that much about, right? Because you have to go through so many things to get to the wound, and then you have to roll the 6s. But what's cool about the Seraphon book, if you're into this, now not everybody likes to roll buckets of dice, but this book gives you the opportunity with several different units, specifically 40 Skinks and Saurus Knights. I know they're nobody's favorite, but they can have a lot of attacks.
Also warriors.
Yeah, warriors too, where you can get the weight of dice needed for a mortal wound on a 6 to wound to really have an impact.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you're talking about this is like the 40 block of Skinks doing 12 mortal wounds. We kind of
because you can get their hits down pretty far to like a reasonable level. You can get them. We have a lot of command points, so you can get them re-rolling 1s. So, and then with the Saurus, it's even worse or better, however you want to think about it. You can get them hitting on like 2s, re-rolling 1s pretty easily.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so then it's like, great, I'm just gonna roll 70 dice and look for 6s.
See,
You can get them on 2s and 2s. They're great.
See, my read on old Seraphon was they kind of they kind of lacked punch. They played the table super well, but they just lacked that punch. They were just pulling models off like gradually, and it wasn't even like they weren't even looking at their wound characteristic because it was just like the units that they had on the table and really like the amount of damage to take out threats. They really didn't have those like great hammers beyond what Ripperdactyls was about it. Like you had Rippers, sometimes they'd pop off, sometimes they'd completely whiff because low model.
You had Rippers that could kill one thing and then were gone after.
Yeah.
If anything hit them back, you just lost that unit.
Oh yeah, it's just yeah. I mean, I've watched them whiff against 30 Bestigors, and I've watched them kill 30 Bestigors to the man in the same game. So it was just full to dead one unit and whiffed on the other unit. I'm just like, I guess you're dead now. Okay.
Yep.
No, it was like, but they've actually put a lot of damage in a lot of different places. I mean, this army's got some damage now. It has a real amount of damage. My early read on it was average war scrolls, like C+ war scrolls with S tier buffs, and I think that lends itself to a really fun competitive play. The counterplay is obvious, quote unquote, just kill the heroes, but you have the tools to protect your heroes and play a game of Age of Sigmar, and I think that's really, really what it's about. So, do you have a early read? Do you have anyone have a bold prediction on where this is going to fit into the meta? Like you can, win-loss tends to be, I think, the best way of portraying an army.
A solid 4-1 army.
4-1, solid 4-1.
Yep. You can go higher if you're good at it.
Yeah.
You can go lower if you're not.
I think it goes higher in the hands of a skilled player. I think 4-1 will be the average because there are just so many Seraphon players that will play them in the near future, I think.
They already have their reps in too. We've established this is a.
I would say their competitive nature is similar to their hobby. What we said about their hobby, like where there's a low floor and a high ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it's gonna be real easy to go 1-4 with these guys. Like, if you're not paying attention, you're gonna get out of your ranges.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have your buffs off, there's really nothing that's a great like tank unit either. Like you can make.
No, we don't have an anvil.
Really anvil-y, but you need all these buffs. You need to do all these things.
Unless you get your 2+ save skinks.
Well, but again, you get that through getting the buff.
Yeah.
If you're not paying attention and you move this guy an inch too far, and all of a sudden your 40 block is too strung out and you can't get the buffs or whatever. I think yes, it has the potential to do really, really well, but it also it's not going to be an easy army necessarily to do well.
It's not like Fire Slayers where you get your buffs for free if you just be somewhere on your board, and somewhere on the other side of the board is some hero of yours.
I still think it's just a base 3-2 army, and your more competitive people, or more talented people, are going to be the 4-1s.
Well, I mean,
to the 5-0s.
Well, see, there's Halo's got a good way of putting this, where he talks about, like, if you're talking tier list, he's actually taken out, like, I'd say he's moved towards what I'd call elite stats, where like you expect a certain level of, like, I'm not concerned if the jungle's going to beat me. I'm concerned if a good player plays this army. What are my chances? And I think if a good player plays this army, they've got everything they need to take it all the way. So, but I don't disagree with the 3-2 read though. I think they're good player 4-1 looking for a good matchup for a 5-0. But you're probably going to see that equilibrium at a 3-2 because what you said, Jeremy, it's going to be easy to see people just like play the models that they already had sitting on the shelf, not buying the Pteranodons, not grabbing those key buff pieces, just playing what they already had, still playing with their Rippers and stuff like that, just having fun, showing up with their Carnosaur that they just painted. And
you will not have anyone playing Rippers, no.
No?
Yeah, that's so sad. That's so sad. The early builds with where you put buffs on your Rippers and stack them just got destroyed with the FAQ, so
I'm okay with that.
They're dead.
Yeah, that was never going to last.
It would have taken 12 CP to make them as good as old Rippers. It was not going to be a problem.
No, I know.
No.
So I'm a little bit sad they took the Fangs of Sotek skink ability a little bit down.
Oh
yeah.
That would be ultimately broken.
So for real quick, for people who might not be playing Seraphon, the way this army's building, do you want to take us through that? Because you basically have your Starburn versus Coalesce, and then from there you have an enclave or a whatever.
Stormhost.
Stormhost. Yeah. So you want to take us through that just a little bit?
Ones. in Starborn, you have Fangs of Sotek and Dracothian's Tail, and in Coalesce, you have Coatl's Claw. Is that how you say that?
Yeah, Coatl.
Yeah,
Coatl's Claw and Thunder Lizards. And then what's really neat, I think it's cool, is that you have the same battalions for both sides, but they do different things. So it's like the same name and the same units are involved in that battalion, but it gives a different ability depending
Not
on
a different, the half one of what it was before.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly like half. So if you took three books Seraphon and you cut their battalion abilities in half and gave one to one side and one to the other.
But they've compensated by having enclaves, though. It's like it's enclaves given the other half of the ability. Essentially, is what's happening. Plus, you have more you have a legion's abilities now, depending on what side you're on.
Yeah.
So
And I think we got a good ratio of good to bad ones, and a better ratio than other books where sometimes only one build is viable. I think 3 out of our 4 constellations are very viable, except for Dracothian's Tail. I think.
Ooh, I beg to differ.
You think so?
I would think the only bad one's Thunder Lizards.
I would tend to agree with you on Thunder Lizard.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
think Thunder is bad. I have a Thunder Lizard list that I am excited to play.
I don't think they're bad, but I don't think it's going to be what you see on the top end competitive.
Right.
I think you're going to see it at the middle tables. It's the 3-2 army that people are going to play a lot. But
It's not bad, it's the bad one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not wild about Dracothian's Tail personally. I don't think that.
Dracothian's Tail gives you back some of that move.
Yeah, but you get it in Fangs of Sotek as well.
Yeah. I don't take it for the
not
movie.
that worse.
Because in Dracothian's Tail, you can bring units on, so you essentially get 2 teleports. Because I can bring a unit on.
You're bringing them on at the end of the movement phase.
You teleport at the end of the movement phase.
So it's like you're bringing them on too late. If it was still hero phase,
I can still capture objectives with it. I can still at the charge phase is when your Starseer goes off for 3d6 charge.
It bypasses the slow movement of most of our army.
I would be concerned.
If I'm doing it, okay. So you're missing the point.
Okay, we're gonna talk about
if I bring on because I held him in reserve, and I teleport him out, and he charges 3d6 into the line. He's gonna hang out there, and no one's making him go away.
I would say even at 35 wounds, there's a lot of armies that, like, if you put him into 2/3, even a third of the army, they're going to kick out 35 wounds.
Oh, easily.
Potentially, yes. I don't disagree. Yeah. But that's an additional turn that they're not coming in and killing my heroes that I actually need and care about. Plus, I've lost, and if they want to move stuff out to do other things or to buff other pieces that they need to move, now they're going to have to retreat from combat potentially or do all these other things.
I mean, you're playing a tempo game. This is tempo, but you could. My only criticism of it, because I like where your head's at, Anthony. My only criticism of it is you could do it with a cheaper unit.
Yes.
Like that's my only.
No, you couldn't because you don't have the wounds. Like if I put anything.
Yeah.
For half the price, I could get 40 skinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 40 skinks.
And have a bigger footprint. And deal more damage.
You're not going to deal damage that turn because they won't have any buffs.
Yeah, they won't have any buffs.
And if you're stringing them out, they're not going to have the frontage you need in any single place to deal damage. They're just a speed bump.
They'll actually works well with Source because their buffs go off in the combat phase.
A lot of them do, yes, correct.
I think what's the problem for me with Dracothian Tail is that I get the mobility that it offers in Fangs of Sotek for skinks as well. They got 17 inch of movement or something like that. If you let them run and you have command points at spares and you can teleport one unit as well, and you get this precious Overwatch shoot of your skinks if you want to. That's movement in your opponent's face, and that's very valuable, I think. And I think if you play skinks, there is no need to play Dracothian's Tail. I can think of some Source Knight lists
Yeah, it's
in the
mostly for the
Coastal Tale.
slow-moving source and dinosaur lists.
But I think they're maybe better off in Quotal's Claw.
So I've heard why the 4 isn't against the Dracothian's Tail. What was the reasoning on why Thunder Lizards or Thunderquake isn't like the hottest?
It buffs bad units.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it buffs
I
the
don't know
Stonegon
that-
and the Engine of the Gods that both got hit really hard.
Yeah, but that skink chief on Stegodon in Thunder Lizards with the because you can give him
Yeah.
nimble. You can do
Or
a
a
lot.
Carnosaur in the same position. Their general becomes really nasty at killing things.
Or defensive. You can build a
Yeah.
defensive.
So you become a little bit of a build your own Flesher to Quartz.
Yeah.
Yes.
The problem with, and honestly, I don't think the Zodons are that terrible in Thunder Lizard because you do get to fire them twice. This army's flush with command points. Like you can create command points everywhere. It's cool. Love it.
You also
About four-
use them really fast.
Yeah, you use
Yes.
it really fast, but you got them quick.
Yeah.
You should get an Ether Quartz brooch if you can.
Oh, always. That's why you
Well,
take
you
an Italian.
Yeah, well, I mean, you get a free one in the in Quaddle's Claw with the Saurus General.
Yeah.
Oh,
But Thunder
Claw
Lizard's
Claw is wonderful.
I'm sorry, you guys are talking over Jeremy a little bit. Jeremy, what was that?
Apology.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just gonna say, like, I think the Basilodons are okay. I think there's viable options. Their range was increased, and in Thunder Lizard they can run and shoot now a lot pretty easily. So I think that there's some value there that I think is fine. I think really the problem is going to be. So I played Thunderquake mostly on the old world, but what you needed was the summoning to bring on bodies because you started low bodies. But you needed them because you needed them for screens, and so then you would end up with nothing. And I think that's going to be the major problem with Thunder Lizards is by the time you get the buff pieces that you need, a couple big dinos, you're looking at just not a ton of bodies. You got like 30 skinks and something else. I'm actually the list I'm probably going to be running. You know, it's sad, but I got to do it. I'm going to put in 2 tree revenant, 2 blocks of 5 tree revs. Just for some extra bodies and for the teleport for mobility. So I think it's the bodies.
That's fun tech. That's fun tech, by the way. I like that. I like that you're identifying a weakness and kind of bringing in an extra teleport, essentially. Like I like that.
Yeah.
So
I think it's bodies with anything else.
Yeah, bodies what you need. I think that and just really what I think is truly being highlighted here is that it's kind of got a little bit of the cities thing going on, but without the sort of pointedness of cities. Cities is very it kind of locks you in your realm. It locks you in some of the candy you want to take from other stuff. This is very much pick the what you want to play with and build to that strength within one of these places. And I think that that's a really cool design. That's why I was really a big fan when I saw the Kaless versus Starborn, and then I'm like, oh wait, and then you get enclaves on top of it, ooh. Because now you're dealing with extra moving pieces with kind of getting your army to fit together, and then you add the battalions in on top of it. You just have a lot of these moving pieces before you even look at the first War Scroll. You know, Ossiarch Bone Reaper, as much as I love them, I pick an enclave. You know, that's what I do. And then I play with, my biggest decision is catapults or harvesters. How many? And more tech guard. It's pretty straightforward. A lot of armies will lie to you that their decisions are more than that, but once you're talking in a competitive sense, usually there's a best case scenario. Daughters of Cain, how many witch elves? But I know I'm playing with witch elves. Oh, I'm going to bring some of the blood sisters this time, and you have very small modular components once you really start to hammer it out. With Seraphon, even as someone says this is the list, someone's going to win something important. Once we're out of our home arrest, as Anthony called it earlier, someone's going to win something with the Seraphon list. People on the internet are going to go, oh, that's the list. And then I think you're going to see a different list win something. And you're going to go, oh, that list is different from that list. And I think you're actually going to see that for once with this army. We see it a little bit with cities. Halahart Living Cities, gotta go fast, +1.
Hammerhall.
Hammerhall's big damage.
Hollowheart, Hammerhall,
Tempest
Living
Eye.
Cities, and Tempest Eye.
Tempest Eye. There we go. Tempest Eye is the one I was thinking of. You see a little bit of that where you're like, oh, but they're still kind of playing a lot of the same stuff. Like they have a couple of different pieces. I think you're going to see some good range of stuff that can win Seraphon. Competitive advocate. What do you disagree? Agree? What do you think?
No, I 100% agree. I honestly don't even know if you're going to find that list.
The list,
like maybe, but like between. So now, if we get to probably the more standout enclaves, you have Fangs and Quaddle's Claw that are just like you're even within those two. So let's just, if we were to agree that those two are the top two, there's a huge range of like what you're doing. With Fangs, you're going to have blocks of 40 skinks, like that's going to be your core, and in Quaddle's Claw, it's going to be Saurus, but it might be knights, it could be warriors. On Fangs, like what do you have other than the 40 skinks? Like, are you bringing a bunch of pterodons? Are you doing, salamanders? There's a lot of different knobs to turn.
Okay. So
the fact that we're arguing about this means that there's a lot of options that top players can go for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are at least 3 competitively viable styles you can play. One is the Saurus heavy build, another one is a skink heavy build, and the third one we didn't discuss as much is some serious endless spell and mortal wound focused list, because bound Geminids and bound pendulum and stuff like that, which you can easily stack on with your many plus 1s, plus 2s to casting, will be a pain in the ass for your opponent, and additional to your global mortal output.
I never leave home without Geminids.
Yeah, I mean, especially not down version of it.
Yep, it's the best defensive option in our army.
Oh man, so that the Lizard Man rule, for those that may not be familiar, one of the rules they got is like their endless spells don't have blowback, and like it's so good.
It is the best ability in the book.
Like there's if you felt bad that you didn't get your own endless spells, I feel like you either got endless spells and 2 of them would have been mediocre and 1 of them would have been good.
Yeah, the standard.
That or you get this ability. I would way rather have that ability.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an army in the game. Really? Yeah.
From a competitive standpoint, from a modeling, some fresh into the mix.
Yeah.
And you only say from a competitive standpoint because we don't know what would have been
fair enough
for endless spells. I would have rather some endless spells than this pyramid. I'll never.
Okay.
Just
we wanted something new. We
give me a big serpent head coming out or something. Give me a spawning pool. Give me something. Rather than that, I'd be in all day.
Okay. Well, I see what. No, I get it because I might have mentioned it off air. I have a competitive lean. It came through when I was talking about the big dinosaur, where I'm like, my competitive brain just discounted this. But from a model standpoint, which is important to remember, and even a lore standpoint, it would make sense for them to have endless spells.
Actually, I like it for the lore reasons. The fact that the Seraphon are so good at magic, they just play with it like no one else can, is really lore friendly.
Well, it is. It is. But then, it also feels like that can be true as well as them having endless spells. Like they should have both, kind of. Because
mainly, we just want new models. We haven't had any in a decade.
Mm-hmm.
We got a pyramid.
From 0.
Technically, it's a ziggurat. I didn't want to be that guy, but
I'll ziggurat right above
the Realm Shaper looks really cool. It's a shame it sucks so hard.
So, the other thing is the FAQ came down that your opponent can garrison it as well.
I guess we should circle back to that. We had that conversation pre-recording, but we were talking about, and I'll just kick it off and then y'all go with it. But how are you going to play, or are you going to play with the Realm Shaper engine?
No.
Not competitively.
Yeah, I mean, I think of the Realm Shaper engine the same way I thought of endless spells for any other army. I will not take anything that could hurt me. in a competitive area. Like, I just won't. That's why while Geminids were really good, I would never take them because I'm not going to have them shot back into me. I won't take anything that can come back at me. And this thing could actively work against you. Yeah, it can't do the mortal wounds to you, but if you get a block of something in there that can shoot well and now has a bonus to save and a negative to hit, like, think of some Zinch Flamers in there. Like, no, thank you. I'm good.
Yeah. If I could decide where I place it after I know where my army will be placed, I would take it.
Yes,
But
it'd be
unlike
really
this,
good then.
No, I have to gamble, and unlike the Bone Reaper Nexus, there's no real use in just placing it in the middle because then it's a gambling game.
I just want to say that I kind of called it on Bone Tithe Nexus that was a trend in how we were going to see terrain beginning to come down, but you know.
But it doesn't hurt OBR.
No, it doesn't. But
it really hurts ours.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. No, it's true. But when it first came out with the rules design, like it didn't, like when your opponent couldn't, you had a 50-50 of having this awesome steroid for yourself. And then they're like, oh no, your opponents can do it too. It crippled it. They just need to unwrite that.
I'd be willing to gamble on it if they couldn't take it over.
Yes.
And then it becomes a big roadblock.
Yeah.
But since like you can't put this thing anywhere near an objective.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't want anybody even close to it, even in the middle.
That's the biggest thing. I have no problem with it going down terrain and all. Like, that's fine because then I can still position it in semi-advantageous positions. Okay, no matter what side of the board I'm on, I kind of want to block up that alleyway over there, create a kill box over here, or something along those lines. I can use it to my advantage, even if I can't use mortal wound ability or garrison it or anything like that. But the fact that my opponent can then advantageously use it if it's placed in a position that's not a good deal for me.
I made a joke that if Indiana Jones has taught me anything, and he has, it's that temples are meant to be raided. But I was just joking. I really wish they'd walk that back. It's your terrain feature. It's bonkers. Like, what if I accidentally deployed my Bone Tithe Nexus because I deployed before the game, basically. If I deployed my Bone Tithe Nexus and then that says, okay, the person who's got the majority models on the side of the table controls the Nexus and they can shoot me with my own thing. Yeah. No, that's dumb. Like the Loon Shrine, like you can start to pull back, bring your own models onto the table with the Loon Shrine if you take it over. Like, no, like this is just, or no, you summon the opponent's goblins under your control.
Yeah, and again, with something like the Loon Shrine there, that's set up in your deployment zone only, so you already know where you're deploying, so you're fine. And that could have been how this worked too, instead of being able to put it out farther, which would be one or the other. Yeah, but
because the size, that's why they're doing the before sides thing. It's the problem that Nexus, again, the sculpture. I have this theory that or hypothesis that the Sculpt team just made the Bone Tithe Nexus without they were so busy wondering if they could do it, they never stopped to think if they should, and then the rules team had to write rules to even let that thing on the table. And because they're if you can't play with on the table, the model doesn't sell. So they had to rewrite the rules of the game, essentially say, hey, this comes down before terrain. The Realm Shaper engine is about as huge. So it's the same problem again. It's going to have to come down. But then you either have to be able to know your side.
The Dreadsaurian sells just fine, my friend. This is all I'll say.
I have a unique fix for the Realm Shaper engine. What if, fine, your opponent can garrison it, but to your Indiana Jones point, I've seen those movies. That bro nearly got killed hanging out
in every time.
If your enemy's in it, they take D6 more wounds.
Yeah.
You need some big rolling stones.
Yeah, you gotta have big rolling stones. Exactly. Yeah, I'm for it. 100%. Because you're doing a couple of things. One, Indiana Jones reference with a model. Hell yeah, who doesn't want that? Two, the flavor. It makes sense. Why wouldn't this space race with magic I can't even understand have traps that I can't even understand, right? They have such big lizard brains. They figured this thing out.
In Gotrik's book, they show that they do. Their temples are guarded by auras that kill chaos on contact.
Yeah. So chaos can't even garrison it. You write that in the rules, Yeah, like I feel like this is they don't have a ton of they have a few missed opportunities in this book. I think this is one of those. This is one of those ones that like it was like I was fine with it, and then the FAQ, and I'm just like and then it became this exacerbated issue that I didn't think had to exist.
Everyone's returning them.
Because we didn't have enough anti-chaos rules yet in our book.
I'm with Jeremy on this. I want it to have traps, so your enemy can garrison it, but there's traps.
Definitely.
Now. Like
you have to pay the entry fee.
Hashtag fix. There you go. Games Workshop. We've fixed it. Hire Jeremy Cooper. You can catch him on the Ever Chosen podcast.
All my hot takes have been told are lukewarm at best.
No, I like your hot takes are lukewarm at best. No, I like this take. This isn't even a hot take. This is just logic. It's great. It's perfect. It fixes it to everyone's satisfaction. You still deploy it in the way that isn't problematic for the table because it's huge, so you have to like shimmy terrain. Fine. And then now my guys take damage in there because they're raiding the temple and it's metal as hell. Like awesome.
Yeah, D6 mortals for everyone who's not a Seraphon, and flat 6 for everyone who's chaos.
Yeah.
You would never put a hero in there.
It'd have to be chaos demons.
Yeah, chaos demons.
Fair enough. Speaking of, so this is a rules change, and I'm uncertain on how the fluff change worked with this. They're not demons anymore.
No, yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. They never were demons. You just didn't understand star magic.
You know who is a demon still? You know who still has the demon key?
Does he really?
In case you didn't know, he still has the demon key.
Yeah, people listening back to this on pure audio formats, you've been missing all this great physical comedy from Anthony. He just keeps holding up this base. It's great. It's amazing.
By the way, just on a little side note, because I traveled pretty much every event I go to. If you have a Dreadsaurian in a carry-on case, when it goes through the X-ray screening, it freaks out TSA. They think you have an iguana in a case. And you're trying to bring an iguana on a plane. It happens to me twice. Just such it out.
They're like pre-warn them. I'm about to put something through the X-ray machine, but it's not alive.
No, like I didn't even think about it. I literally just goes through, and you're looking at it, and I'm like, I don't have a gun in there or anything. Like I made sure all that stuff's home. We're good. And then they're like, sir, do you have a live animal in here? I'm like, no, it's a big chunk of resin. They're like, what? I'm like, look, let's open this up real quick. They're like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I'm like, yeah, now don't touch it. That model alone is like 3 weeks of your salary. Close it back
up. The worst that's happened to me is I have a multi-tool that I keep on me constantly because I work in utilities, and so it's just like you keep it with you, and it does have a blade. It has a blade on it because it's the second most useful tool next to the freaking needle nose pliers. And so it's like I've forgotten that thing at basketball games all the time. I'm like, I know I'm going to the basketball game, and it's like, why do I even put it on my person? Because
it's habit.
Yeah,
it's so habit. I've given TSA because I never leave home without a knife than you would ever want to.
Yeah. Luckily I've had like I've run back to a car or something like that. It's never been. We're neurotically early to things, so I'm usually able to fix the situation. But airports are a different story.
I'm neurotically early too, but I'm also obesely fat. So like I'm not walking back to the car. I'll buy another $50 knife.
All right, so I just kind of want to round out on two issues for competitive real quick here. So the initial read I had was that Pteranodons were like the huge winners in this battletome.
Pteranodons.
Sorry, Pteranodon is an actual dinosaur type. So pterodons, and then salamanders. So these are the two that just seemed like the absolute winners. Salamanders were early on being lumped in with Flamers of Tzeentch, essentially. You're just gonna drop and pop with these guys. They even have the skink keyword.
They're more expensive, but yeah.
Yeah,
right.
They're much more expensive.
Right, but you've got a lot more buffs to throw on them too. So.
No, you have one.
Not points wise. They're very expensive in real life.
Oh Lord, yes.
As well.
Yeah, and then the other side of it was, and then the other ones were pterodons, and pterodons I've compared to Chaos Enlightened on Disc, where they seem super efficient for the points, and I wonder. I have these two curiosities, and then as a total group here, we'll let Jeremy go first, and other people can weigh in. Am I going to see, just all of the pterodons as a dot list, or all of the salamanders dot list? Are salamanders really the second coming of flamers? Are pterodons really the second coming of Chaos or Tzeentch Enlightened on Disc? So,
yeah, I think Axel was this is if maybe, but in real life, like you could buy 3 armies for the cost of what it will take you to buy enough salamanders to like spam the salamanders, because they're like $20 for one or something silly.
Yeah.
So
the full pterodon list is over $1,000. So
yeah, and so they're very expensive from that standpoint. And funny enough, for pterodons, everyone has been, other than Pterodan, that British dude, everybody had rippers, like tons and tons and tons of rippers. So I think most people are going to have to rebuy and paint pterodons. So you won't see them at first, but they're not going to be tomorrow. The 24 pterodon list isn't going to be rock and rolling, but I think you are going to have a lot of them. I think they are very popular, very good. I think you're going to see a lot of stand-in salamander models for non-GW tournaments, because they're legit.
Yeah, I don't know what you could possibly mean.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing but the sail fin salamanders for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, GW, please don't nerf. Keep talking about Bastillodons, everyone on the internet.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see salamanders.
Broken.
What's that?
No, they're
Salamanders are good, but not broken.
I agree. They're great.
Exactly. They're good. They're not that great, but they're good, and they're going to see a lot of. I don't think you're going to see, like, you're going to find one Yahoo run a shit ton of pterodons, and then he's going to realize that wasn't a great idea, because that much footprint, you're not going to be able to get them all over the models that you need to 90% of the time to do the kind of output you can math hammer out. Right. Just like you can, I'll get 40 skinks or 40 Saurus warriors that'll go in and they're going to do a million damage. No, because half of them aren't going to be able to.
Yeah, that frontage. It's so rare that you get that frontage.
Yeah, especially with Saurus warriors on 32.
Yeah,
like you're better.
Blocks of 30.
See, at that, even then, you're still likely to get
we have 10 ancillary
in combat.
Right, it's more so that they don't immediately lose the second.
100% agree, but the efficiency, I would rather have 40 skinks because I can do it in the where you're gonna.
You can have both.
You can, and that's the best part. And I can have 2 star priests so that they both get the buff side.
Oh, I will definitely play 2 star priests and 2 priests in every list I.
And that's one of the reasons in competitive, the Starborn side is, while again, I'm not building towards summoning, I'll get a couple ancillary points here or there, and you can bring on a priest who is pretty effective at 10 points and a star priest at 15. So late game, when those guys have died because they're 5 wound, 4 wound heroes, I can bring one back later on eventually.
Yeah.
I think you'll see salamanders in every list.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They serve a really unique niche in like their rend 2 on both of their attacks, which is like you're just gonna need that in so many different games.
They're the more tech guard of the Seraphon world.
Yeah, but you just you don't have to spam them that much. They're good if you take 1 or 2 units. They're not only good if you take 4 or 6 units full of them. They're even good in smaller groups.
Hotspur here in chat says use corn flesh hounds as salamanders.
I was planning.
Lots of people do this.
Yeah.
Also, those new Necromunda models, I was going to use several of them as baby salamanders.
There you go. Yeah. So
I already have 2 of the goofy looking ones, so I'm gonna buy one more for my hunting pack. But
nice.
I have 3 of the old metal ones with the big fins on the back, and then I also have the package of the 3 Mirce miniature ones
Right.
around here somewhere too. And I have, fortunately, I have 3 or 4 Razor Dons too.
I love it. I love it. All right, guys, bring me home on this on the competitive topic. You close this out, Cooper, and we'll just go around. Jeremy, sorry.
No, they're going to be great. I can't wait to see. I'm really excited to see what the galaxy brains of the world do with this army. There's going to be a lot of different lists, and I think they're going to be bumping around the top. I think the days of Seraphon, hanging around the 40% win rate are gone. I think it's going to be really great and a lot of opportunity.
I agree. Anthony?
I think there are so many different ways that the win rate is going to be lower than what it should be.
It's the city's effect.
Yeah, but you're going to have a lot of people having a lot of fun because in competitive, it doesn't have to be cutthroat competitive. I mean, I play competitive at tournaments, but I'm in the mid tiers, and I'm perfectly happy with that.
Mid-table's not more fun.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you played me in.
Yeah.
I like having, but I still like to be in a game, and this army will now be able to keep you in a game, so you don't just turn up and go, "Cool, I'm just going to go to beer now because this is done."
See, that was day one though, so you got me in this like weird like feeling out the room mode. Like
I was trying to get you amped up, but you were like, "I'm just going to take all your toys off the."
Yeah, I wasn't even.
I knew that. I knew that in deployment. I'm still amped, son.
Erda, what do you think?
It's going to drive non-Seraphon players to conniptions because it's impossible to plan for our army. Because we have so many different ways to build.
Ooh, this is a good take.
Yeah, like orcs are going to have a 50-50 chance of having their army nerfed to the ground if we take coalesced or not. It's just the different playstyles are so varied and so wild. You cannot put in a contingency plan for Seraphon. You just have to hope that the list we bring is one yours can deal with.
See, I actually like this take too. I actually think that there's something we need to start doing a little bit better as a community, which is referring more to archetypes than the army. Like even just like again, cities is just like perfect poster boy for this. Like the city's army. Well, which one? Am I playing like some like beer and pretzels? Like, hey dude, let me buy you a beer. I just grabbed my old models off the shelf and rebased them. Let's have a fun game, guy. Or are you playing that tuned Hallowheart, Living Cities, Hammerhall, whatever list? Are you playing against those? There's so like maybe you, instead of referring to it as cities, you refer to it as the tuned hammer or Hallowheart or spell
or just alpha shooting,
or like alpha shooting.
Yeah.
Like start referring more to the archetypes than the actual like faction or whatever, because they vary so much dramatically. And I think if you program your brain a little bit to start looking for archetypes instead of armies, you can prepare a little bit better. And I think that's a lesson that you're going to have to learn from Seraphon, is what archetype are they bringing? How do I pair against that? And remember, it's okay to take a loss, especially if someone's carrying your hard L. If someone's got your hard counter, man, no shame in losing. Play hard, play a good game, but whatever. You got to play with the army you chose. That's when competition starts, is with the meta choice.
Imagine if every tournament adopted the like Nash 2-list format where you could always have what you thought you would need. And like, I wish it were the case, because I'll bring a Quaddle's Claw and a Fangs of Sotek and be like, "No, bitches."
Jeremy's shaking his head. I don't know if that's a disagreement or appreciation.
Appreciation. For sure.
It would be just amazing.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Just one thing we forgot to talk about really quick that we would be remiss, I think, if we didn't bring it up, was that you're not going to get super duper low drop.
No.
Like you're not.
No.
Like, because there's so many different characters that you need to make the things work. Like if you're at 5 drops, you're pretty low. Like for Seraphon.
If you're at 5 drops, I don't know how you did the right number of heroes, because you missed out on some of your heroes there.
Yeah. Each list I built always featured 6 heroes.
So just FYI, that is one thing that is constant pretty much throughout all the lists.
Yeah.
You know how you can keep your drops low is Just for 510 points. He's a quarter of your army. Just saying.
You're done.
And then Axo, rounding out the thoughts on competition.
Yeah, I'm really glad that I now have a tool where I don't have some super hard matchups. I don't think there are many hard counters right now, because the battletome now offers a solution for basically every problem you could encounter. Unlike before, when we had to basically outdrop our opponent and get on the field before they can drop their at least mediocre durable stuff, because we don't have any damage to remove them from objectives. We now have some tools to adjust to our opponents, and I think that's a lot of fun to come.
You were the actually, like, according to your guys' like ITC rankings equivalent, you're one of the top Seraphon players in all of Germany.
Yeah, I'm basically the only competitive Seraphon player in the top 100. I'm ranked at rank 17 currently.
On Seraphon.
Not on Seraphon, but in general as a Seraphon player.
Yeah.
Which is really impressive. Good job, sir.
This is why he's our international correspondent. He's been kicking ass and taking names on Seraphon and overseas for a while now.
It's sometimes it's hard. I usually go or I usually went to very good games, and then I get smashed at the top table by some Fire Slayers because I don't have damage to do shit to them. So that was basically my tournament experience over the last
for just like a year.
Yeah.
Just one whole calendar.
Submarine down and pop back up.
Yeah. All right. So then it just sort of final points in Seraphon in general. We'll start out with you, Anthony, and just go around.
So this book is, in my opinion, not just because I love, because I buy every book that comes out to know what I'd be up against and everything. This book is probably the best book GW has almost ever put out. It gives you so many different ways to play with almost all the models in the range, that no matter what you had or have or want, you can still use it and field a mildly to semi-competitive army, and the army will keep you in a game. You're not out of it after, deployment. You can still compete in all the missions and everything and have a lot of fun doing it, and have a lot of hobby fun too, with, again, using bright, bold colors if you wanted to, or going minimalistic if your skill level or your time isn't up to that. And you can have a lot of fun.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree. I don't know if I have anything more to say. It's a great army. I encourage everybody who wants to get into it. As I think we've talked about with Lustria Online, I had to drop out of the Seraphon WhatsApp because it was so hopping. I couldn't handle the amount of notifications going off in there. People are passionate about this army for a reason, and it's because it's great. Lizards on dinosaurs riding dinosaurs, shooting lasers. So, all the things that have been said.
Erda?
Go for it.
This is a great place to start from GW. Now, this is the deal. Give us some stories. Give us some models. You'll make a killing. I love what we have so far.
Yeah. That's a great point, too. I think featuring him in stories is just going to drive interest, because the army, on one hand, is already kind of selling itself. You give people a slight nudge, the way you do with Stormcast, where they're heavily featured. It's just going to print money. I'm hoping that they prioritize getting everyone new books. I hope that we get a second wave, and Cities of Sigmar and Seraphon and Orcs and all those armies that didn't get new stuff or new sculpts get new sculpts for the stuff in their book. They don't need new war scrolls. The books are good.
At the very least, resin.
Yeah, get rid of just get rid of the resin. Plastics.
I'm looking forward to a Shadespire Warband. What does that look like, and what does that add?
Ooh, yeah.
What does that even bring? Is it 2 Kroxigor and a skink, or is it a skink wizard and 2 skinks and a salamander? Is it just a dread saurian? Because I mean, what other army gives you a base this big you can play with? Only like
Corn.
2.
Corn.
Corn can give it to you, and Slaves to Darkness in a War Mammoth.
Okay.
Also, doesn't Destruction have the Magma Worm?
Not quite as big, is it?
Not as big. There's only
Fair enough.
3 models that use this. It's the Chaos War Mammoth, the Corn Dragon, and Dread Saurian.
Fair enough.
But Corn is weak. Oh, I can't believe you say that. And then Axo, how are you gonna closing thoughts?
I'm very glad with how this battletome turned out. At first glance, I was like, "Oh no, what did they do to my Ripperdactyls? I loved them so much." But after looking a little bit deeper into it, I'm very glad that there are so few bad units to choose. There are only 4 or 5 units, I would say, are not built to be competitive. And even there, you could make some exclusions.
You can find a role. Like you can find
all good subfactions. The best job they did at diversifying an army till today.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
So I have one question for everybody.
Yeah.
What is the one thing that they miss with this book? And it could be either a rules thing, a model thing, or not so much a lore thing, because that is a whole separate thing. But like, what is the one thing that you were like, why isn't that in there? Or why did that change? That you were like, that's a miss.
Yeah, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Kroxigor don't synergize. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
They don't do bad.
I just they don't synergize with anything. It's bizarre. They can take 1 buff from the Star Priest.
Yeah.
Or the Star Seer. And Star Priest technically.
To me, they're like a leave it unit in my they don't synergize with anything. The models are half crap. Fine cast.
They're one of the mentioned bad units.
I love them. They're my terrible models, and I love them so much.
The definition of a pet unit. Yeah, we've all got it.
And that's fine.
I don't think they're too bad. I think that they do well because you don't have to buff them. They're solid on the war scroll without the buffs. They aren't the best thing in our army, but if all your heroes are dead, your Crocs are still strong.
But if all your heroes are dead, you're in serious trouble. Anyway, so.
But I mean, how many points are Crocs?
140.
140. So for 140, I can get a lot of things. I mean, a Star Seer
salamanders
is 140. I can get 2 Pterodon Chiefs if I need to. I can get Pterodon Riders and something else. I can get 20 Skinks. I mean, I can get 2 Salamanders. I mean, I just
You're not allowed to talk about lore. What's your missed opportunity? And while you answer, I gotta step out the room real quick.
Mostly models.
Models.
Yeah. There's a lot of quibbles I have with rules, but that's the big thing. There was so much excitement on Lustria and everywhere that, what are we getting? Are we getting a whole overhaul like everyone was really hoping? Are we only getting a few models? Are we getting a new hero? Are we getting an old named hero that we haven't seen in forever that was in the cryosleep chambers?
Yeah.
And for the fact that it was nothing at all for one of the oldest model lines in the game.
Yeah. It's a little disappointing, right? Because even
GW,
everybody else,
this is a license to print money. Everyone loves dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And they already had the sculpts, like, for the Saurus, like, the Carnosaur Riders are already great.
Right.
Oh, the Carnosaur Riders are great sculpt, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the new
like
heroes. The Old Blood on foot, the Old Blood on Carnosaur looks amazing. Scale it down a bit, give it a spear, it's a warrior.
Yeah, and with the buffs they gave to Saurus warriors, they would sell tons of them if they just made them new.
I agree.
Yeah, and so it's just sad, and I wish that they hadn't, or I hope that in the future they do give us new stuff because
nothing
right now I doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, with the exception of a Shade Spiral
Yeah.
models.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
So,
Yeah, it's
I've
to the
seen
point
people
where we're
converting-
getting Blood Bowl teams for models. 'Cause-
I was gonna say, I've seen people converting Blood Bowl, and it looks pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Heck, just use the Blood Bowl miniatures. Just give them different hands to hold a spear.
yeah.
There's like a quick fix there.
Oh yeah.
Axo, did you get to weigh on your missed opportunity?
Not yet. I'm a strong advocate of the skink way of life. So
That-
I really would love some skink hero on foot. Especially a named one would be great. They kinda
Bring
dodged
Exolano
this. Yeah, they
Yes.
kinda dodged this with bringing a skink sheath on Stegadon, but why not on foot?
Well, that's where you could easily get a grass rack or I mean grass rack's the only one that matters out of the what was that Shadespire. We got our one
Yeah.
cool Beast of Chaos hero.
Yep.
You get something like that and see it as a skink hero. That'd be pretty sweet. Bring back the Rat Slayer. Chat all the chat gang agrees with you.
Again, which one? They all did that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, and then real quick reverse order. If people want to learn how to be good at the game of Age of Sigmar, especially overseas, where anything you want to put on blast, and where do they reach you, Axo?
Excuse me.
Yeah, where can people talk to you if they want to talk about all the Seraphon goodness?
I don't know. They're just the best. They are just the best dinosaurs riding dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
do you have a Twitter handle?
I'm Das Axolotl SC2.
There you go. And Erdo, so you've got a little bit of a show that you started, and obviously, where can people reach you?
Oh,
Right here in Chat Gang, I know both of you frequent the show.
Yeah.
As Chat Gangers.
The easiest place to find me would to be post a question to Lustria Online. I'm very active there. As for the podcast, Lizard Wizard, one of our better players out there, approached me to do a podcast. It's called The Wandering Lizard Wizards.
All right.
If you want to, check it out. We're only 2 episodes now, so very new.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
if I can say something to
go
this.
ahead.
If you're an aspiring Seraphon player and you don't know where to start with list building and stuff, check out Lizard Wizard's list thread in Lustria Online. He's an amazing list builder. It's just the best there is.
That's high praise. Jeremy, where can people reach you, and why should they be watching your podcast?
Well, if you're watching my podcast, that's great because
Yeah, I'm sorry, listening.
Yeah. No. I'm Slantastic1 on Twitter, so you can find me there. Ever Chosen Podcast. We're out of Texas, Austin, Texas. We have a pretty large scene here, so we're usually talking about that goings on of Texas, and then just what's happening in the larger AOS narratives. But yeah, we have a good time. As Meth mentioned at the front, we have a motley cast of characters. One who's been missing but will be returning to action here shortly, so we're super excited about that. Also, if you're just looking for great Seraphon content, I gotta give a shout out to my friend Caleb Hastings. He's a Texas guy as well. He does a YouTube channel where he's done a lot of stuff. It's just Caleb Hastings, I think, is his YouTube channel. It's not nothing crazy.
He's on Twitter too.
Yeah, he's on Twitter as well. But he's done a lot of great content with relation to the new book.
Perfect. And Anthony Polcastro, the Luke Skywalker of 3D terrain.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Where can people reach you?
On Twitter, it's crazy. That's probably the only social I really use. I will pop up in the Seraphon Facebook group from time to time, and I pop in Lustria Online from time to time. Yeah. But yeah, more on Twitter.
All right.
Than anything else.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Do you feel we've adequately delivered propaganda to the masses on behalf of the lizard folk?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Play
I
sales
think-
and
I mean, if you just remember, you can play with a base this big.
Yeah.
You'll be okay. With 35 wounds for 510 points.
Could be
That's
37 if you're playing Coalesce.
37 in Thunder Luges, that's right. Game.
GG. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Chat gang, once again, thank you. You're the show within the show. Take care of yourselves and each other. Good night, everybody.